Good evening, it's News View. I am visiting with Ron Hart. He is a syndicated columnist, an author, and a libertarian, and a Fox News View contributor. I still haven't gotten over the fact that the Republican Party asked him to address them and then got their pants all wadded up when he told them what he thought. I mean, that forever will be burnt in my memory, okay?
Yeah, I thought about not doing it, but
I mean, if you ask for it, you give it.
Yeah. I mean, you never get better unless you're self-reflective, right? You can't live in your own hubris. I mean, at some point, someone has to say the king has no clothes on. And remember, this is a year and a half ago. I haven't been invited back. But I barely get invited back anywhere. But except here, you're always nice.
Well, you have I admire people like you. You've got a unique ability to take an issue that has meaning to people, deliver it in a manner that allows them, if they have any sense, to smile, and at the same time take a message away from it. That's just a unique ability to do that, and you do that well.
I appreciate it. Yeah. Well, the message to them was, after the Republicans lost after Bush, and I pointed out the things that they went wrong on, including spending money like crazy, the prescription drug entitlement that Bush pushed through, this notion of compassionate conservatism, which is meaning, pushing religion and their own social views on the country. And Iraq. I mean, I was early on. I mean, one of the early people, I think, certainly from the center and to the right, that came out against the wars over there. The notion that our intelligence agencies know things is fallacy. When we find out in Egypt, they got no clue in Egypt. And we talked recently about Klopper, the current the national security head. The notion that we spend $80 billion a year on intelligence, and they're getting their information from the news and from the newspapers. So if for us to believe in these intelligence agencies, all they are, and I worked in D.C., they're a funding operation. They want to be funded. And how do you get funded? You got to insert yourself into the dialogue, into the narrative, and you got to scare people. Oh, Saddam Hussein bad, Iraq bad. We're here to save you.
No, and no different than Rahm Emanuel. You don't waste any disaster.
Right.
I mean,
let no crisis go to waste. Exactly. That's not lost on the Republicans either. Exactly. And the national security, the Patriot Act, and things that were done under there, as a civil libertarian and a libertarian in general, I'm a little afraid what got done there in the name of war. It'd be eternally suspicious when all senators vote on something one way. I mean, anytime Hillary Clinton, Schumer, all of them voted for the Iraq War and other things. I always worry when they're all in lockstep. I like it better when they're gridlocked.
All right. Sunday, I read your piece in the News Herald about Facebook. What is that movie?
You're on there.
Yeah.
Even got you on there. Good Lord. 5 years ago, I thought Facebook was going to die, once people got through looking at my Dollywood pictures, my family vacation in Dollywood. But turns out, no, it has legs. It keeps going. So we're going to go to Euro Dollywood next trip, which I think is in Arkansas. I'm not sure where Euro Dollywood is. I think it's in Arkansas. And I'll post those pictures. Now, the point about Facebook is, first of all, the role it played in the Egyptian turnover of Mubarak. Two, the big picture, no one else pointed out, is the fact that our capital markets under Dodd-Frank and other type of regulations make it prohibitive for them to do a deal to raise, $500 million or $1 billion or whatever, in the United States. They go to Russia. They gave it to a Russian company. And we have a world now where it is easier to do business in Russia. This great bureaucracy, the country that almost died under the weight of this bureaucracy, now is an easier country to register a stock offering with than the United States. We're going the wrong direction. Money is very fluid. It can go anywhere. You can raise it in Switzerland.
Money don't have a home.
It don't sleep. As they said in that Gordon Gekko movie, money doesn't sleep. And it doesn't. It goes around the world very quickly. And currency is more fungible than it's ever been. It's more fleeting than it's ever been. And if America is not an accommodative, reasonable place to do business, then money will leave. And you know what else leaves? Jobs. And notoriety. I mean, Facebook was a great American invention. Maybe stolen, but an invention nonetheless. and it's basically getting money to fund it from foreigners because our regulatory environment is so forbidding. The lawyers are the layers of laws and things you worry about and the threats, and it's really driven on the Democrat side by envy. And their whole playbook is to go after envy, and Zuckerberg's worth $50 billion. Who better to hate than him? To point the finger at him, let the villagers come after him with pitchforks, and that's no way to run a country. And I think Russia figured that out, and they went the other direction. And I say in the column, the final word in the column, I think if President Reagan had known that Russians were going to beat us and the Chinese were going to beat us to capitalism the way they have, he would have said, Mr. Gorbachev, reinforce this wall.
Right.
I mean, we had a full run on it. But
right. And it is. I mean, and it is a point that cannot hardly be argued that China and Russia and all of those countries, almost all of those countries that were at one time the antithesis of free enterprise, have assumed that mantle and have gone places, while America is becoming more like what they were.
Exactly. Ships in the night. I wrote about Cuba, and then we're just passing in the night. We're going that direction, and they thought there's never been a history of mankind where socialism and communism worked. It's never worked.
What do you think we're accomplishing with the Cuba thing? I mean,
opening it up.
Yeah, I mean, what's the deal? What is it? I mean, what is it besides being mad at them for some reason?
Right.
Do we do that?
Well, I think his notion is that you extend an olive branch to these countries. I mean, Cuba's going broke. They can't sustain this type of situation where 40–50% of the people work for the government. Obama's going that direction himself. His idea is probably that Cubans who are communists may evolve into Democrats because it's the most natural evolution, the way Southern Democrats were evolved into Republicans. There's always a metamorphosis.
I just don't understand that. I don't understand that at all. I don't understand the end game in the Cuba thing.
Well, what we did with Cuba was smart because we isolated them. We said, look, you can't trade, and it tells you that the armies and military is not the only way to go. If you don't have free trade and free enterprise, people starve. They can't get Levi jeans, Marlboro cigarettes. They can't get iPods. And I tell you what, capitalism is the most fair and equal way to bring people together because it's trade. I like your product. I will pay you this for your product. In exchange, you pay me this. You trade with each other. That brings you a lot closer together than any government tells you to be, or any sort of regime tells you to be, or at the point of a bayonet. I mean, capitalism is the great equalizer, and that's why China, and that's why Russia. At the end of the day, Russia couldn't survive because it was a communist country. No one owned anything. Everybody owned everything, but no one owned. And they could never answer the simple question: if you're a farmer and your cow is sick, who stays up with the cow? In America, the person owns it, stays up with the cow. They take ownership of what they have. Over there, they can never answer that question. If everybody owns it, then nobody owns it. No one cares about it.
Listen, speaking of nobody cares, Judge Roger Vincent it was a naval fighter pilot. And I have had an opportunity to know him, and I have had an opportunity to sit in his courtroom, and I have admired his. I have admired him because, number one, I think he's well versed in the law. Number two, he has the courage to do the things that he believes the law says. So here he comes out with just a rather damning 78 some odd page report on Obamacare.
Very well written, by the way.
Yes, sir. He's just a great guy. Yeah. I mean, he really is just a great guy.
Well, all the major cases happening in the Panhandle of Florida. You got that case, and you got Tiger Woods getting divorced here in town. All your major legal events. Yeah, I mean, they need to have the Supreme Court down here.
Wow.
Now, I thought it was a great opinion. Look, you can't fundamentally make someone buy something. It violates the Commerce Clause of the Constitution. That's fundamental. Two, the Democrats think this is some great pill this is going to save America. The Republicans think it's a suppository
Right.
that's come in
Right.
in a different direction. Look, people should be free to choose what they do, buy something, not buy something. And also, if you're healthy, and Americans don't want to hear this for the most part because we're an obese country. If you're healthy, you should pay less for your insurance. You can't say everybody's covered. I mean, you can't bring your car in wrecked to the auto dealer and say, you know, I meant to get it covered.
But he makes that correlation that average Americans have made in a legal manner about, you know, what next? You know, a loaf of wheat bread each week.
Right.
You know,
We're moving in the wrong direction.
Where does it end? Where does the manipulation or the demand or the law say? Where does that end?
Right.
Ron Hart. We'll be right back. Welcome back, Newsview, visiting with Ron Hart. Ron, in a moment of futuristic prediction, you know, I mean, just it was, you know, it was said that the WikiLeaks guy would be nominated for the Nobel Prize.
Well, he's a perfect candidate. He's a liberal. He's your perfect Al Gore, you know, Barack Obama type liberal that the left really loves. He's a mysterious guy. He's got a little home court advantage in that he's Norwegian, so he's kind of in the area of the world in which they do that. Look, you know, he is nominated by a Norwegian legislature, but the WikiLeaks thing, and I'm all for the open press, and I'm torn on this one. I mean, as most Americans are. I'd like to know more about my government than less. I think he did a great job of saying we're not doing it as well in Afghanistan as the government tells us. You know, you remember the Pentagon Papers that ended the war that you felt needed to be ended. I mean, there's some good that comes of this. So I mean, I think he deserves it probably more than Obama did. But at the end of the day, 70,000 documents get released. Basically, no one in America has the attention span to read that. I mean, our biggest, you get the CIA, the Army, the FBI, our biggest defense against foreign intelligence is our ADD. The fact that Americans have been reduced to 140 character Twitters right now. I mean, no one's going to read 70,000 documents or whatever it was and basically come up with something. But yeah, what I read in the WikiLeaks was a bunch of snarky junior high school comments about certain leaders. They say Putin's still running Russia. Big surprise there.
Right.
They say Oprah's running Chicago. I don't know what they're saying. But
well, Rahm Emanuel's not back yet, is he?
No, he's back there.
Is he back?
He's
yeah.
running for mayor. Yeah, it was snowed there like crazy recently, and he's helping people dig out of the snow. And he's mumbling in his breath. He goes, "I'm glad I don't live here. If I get the heck out of Chicago." But no, the WikiLeaks guy I think is an interesting story. The media I think is covered him fairly. He's obviously a very paranoid guy, an odd guy, and he has the rape charges and these other weird things going on with him. So, you know, the Nobel Prize, as has the Golden Globes and certain awards, have become just a liberal award. You know, no liberal need not apply.
Really?
And the fact that Gore got it, you know, as they dig out the snow in Chicago, as it rains, and it snows on the Super Bowl in Dallas, he's proclaiming the global warming thing, and he gets this little PowerPoint presentation that the left just loves him for. He shows up in a limousine preaching to people, and a jet, flying in the jet, and then drives to the event in a limousine and tells everybody they need to use less fuel. I mean, the irony is endless there. And he grabs a masseuse and does all these other things up in Oregon, et cetera. So, look, I write humor, and these guys are perfect for me because they're a contradiction and they're an ongoing source of humor.
Ron Hart, we'll be right back. I mean, what about that?
I don't know.
I mean, what? I mean, you know, I mean, what about that? Welcome back. It's Newsview. I'm visiting with Ron Hart. This congressman has a picture of himself without a shirt on, and he resigns.
Yeah, pretty quick. You make quick work of it. You know, Republicans got some issues as they had with Mark Foley. I mean, that's the reason the Republicans go terribly wrong with saying they're more moral, they're more religious, they're more highly evolved than Democrats. They really aren't. You know, human foibles are universal. And Republicans have equal amount of sex gates or problems like that. This guy's a Republican congressman. Clearly the media is more apt to report it because it comes off as hypocrisy, be it Larry Craig with his wide stance and these other type of things. But
yeah, but I mean, what is it? I mean, what is it? I mean, did he resign because he sent it to a guy, or does he resign?
No, he was on Craigslist trolling for women.
Okay.
Using his own name. He's 46 years old. He was 39. Imagine someone lying on Match.com or something. That never
Especially
happens.
a politician.
It says a lobbyist, instead of the congressman. So I mean, I don't know what you say. You're a lobbyist. Your lobbyist is just a paid bag man. But anyway, he had a full picture of himself. I mean, you're not invisible, dude. I mean, it takes just one person that knows who you are, and you're in trouble. And he's married. So he's trolling for women on Craigslist, taking pictures of himself. Look, men always go down with their hubris. I mean, hubris gets men, vanity and stuff. In power in Washington.
Vanity.
Yeah, in power in Washington. Look, I always said when I was at Georgetown and I worked in D.C., we used to always say, Washington D.C. is Hollywood for ugly people. I mean, it's a great place to go to have power. And there's a lot of women up there. Back then, it was stenographers and typists. It was like 5 women to every 1 man. You had power. It wasn't your power. It was other people's money. Nonetheless, it was power. You pick up a hooker, you could pay her with a bridge project in her district. So you had the power.
Paper road.
I love Charlie Wilson's War, the way he went about it, unabashedly in the old days. But that's what happens up there. It's all about egos.
Well, when we come back, Ron and I are going to do a little sports analysis. Super Bowl, Brett Favre, texting pictures of your things.
Bleep.
We'll be right back. Welcome back. It's News View. I'm visiting with Ron Hart, syndicated columnist, author, Libertarian, and Fox News View contributor. And we go into our sports segment. You watched the Super Bowl?
I did watch it.
Was your team win?
I was a hotbed of indifference. Once the Falcons lost, I kind of wanted the Packers to win because they just trounced the Falcons. I went to that game, so I mean, I enjoyed it. I missed the cheerleaders. I mean, neither team's too cold up there. And also, I think it may have to do with the fact that Ben Roethlisberger was there, and he has a court order. He can't get 500 yards in way of a woman who's scantily clad. So that may be a part of the problem. So, I enjoyed it. It's great entertainment. I like the commercials, and it's American. It's a piece of Americana. It's been commercialized probably beyond where I would like to see it commercialized in many ways, but. Look, it's entertaining, and this Aaron Rodgers, and he didn't get a college scholarship. He played junior college football. He didn't get drafted initially, and he got picked up later on. Great story. Same as Cam Newton. He went. Obviously, whether he took money or not, I don't know. But he's a great story about how you can consistently get better. Become friends with Dan Uggla, the guy drafted by not drafted, but signed by the Braves in Atlanta. He's drafted 338 in the draft. And he worked his way up, was Rookie of the Year for the Florida Marlins here in your state, and he just signed a $62 million deal with the Braves. I mean, America's a great place, and I think the Aaron Rodgers story and stories like Uggla and other people shows that perseverance pays.
Well, what will Brett do? I mean, I mean, just stick to the jeans commercials, or do you think he'll come back for another year?
Yeah.
Or?
They have a new Lee's Wranglers no-fly jeans.
Right. Velcro. Right.
Yeah, easy access. I don't know. Look,
what about that texting stuff? There's another guy. I mean, what's it? I mean, he's
I wouldn't be texting my business when I was living in Minnesota. I'd come to South. It was too cold up there to be doing that. Now, these football players, they've been traveling their whole life. They've been adorned as heroes since junior high school. So the women have always liked them and such. So you're on the road all the time. It's got to be a tough thing, on occasion to not have a slip up here and there. And look, 70% of the NFL players, and I read this recently, are broke after 5 years out of the league. I mean, they make a lot of money in a short period of time. And Goodell may do a lockout of the NFL here pretty soon. Favre was always a good guy, but you always wonder why Green Bay got rid of him. Well, you just saw why they got rid of him. Aaron Rodgers,
right?
What is his name? Aaron Rodgers, a great quarterback. So it's big money. It's their money's on the line. They want to win. It's nothing fair than someone who wants to win and put the best players in the field. And you love to see a Packers story. I grew up with Packers. I loved the Packers and Jets as a kid.
Well, I mean, I thought one of the things, you know, people talk about how much money they make, but they're just pieces of meat. They're treated like pieces of meat, you know.
Treat me that way for $5 million a year.
You know, and then after you save, and after a period of time, you know, you can't, your legs don't work, your back don't work, your shoulders don't work, you know, and you got to deal with that for the rest of your life.
There's trade-offs.
So it's, you know,
there's trade-offs. We tell the guy working in the coal mine, you know, making, you know, $15 an hour, and these, you know, life's tough. I mean, there's a trade-off. At least today, there's more knowledge of what can happen to you in terms of Alzheimer's and having concussions and Parkinson's down the road. I mean, obviously, Muhammad Ali is a walking example of what can happen to you. That Goodell, I think, is trying to make it safer on these people to do.
So getting around to that. What do you see quickly as we end up here? Are we headed in a better direction in America, or have we at least had enough sense to take a pause? Or what?
My favorite writer and my hero, actually, he blurbed my book. P.J. O'Rourke had a great line about the November election. He said it wasn't an election; it was a restraining order. I thought it was one of the best lines written in a long time, and he is one of the best. And it was a restraining order. People didn't like the way the country was going. They didn't like what Obama was doing. If you're pro forma what he's doing forward, it's unsustainable. Rand Paul is making some noise about cutting the budget. Nothing big yet, but you know, every step, you know, every 1 mile walk starts with one step. So he's trying. I mean, it's going in the right direction. And at least there's been an injunction on these guys.
Okay, Ron Hart. Remember, those are my views. What are yours?